All right, today we're going to go through lesson 7.6 on solving inequalities. Now, let's review, first of all, what is an inequality? We've been solving equations, and an equation, one side is what? Equal to. These are not equal. Inequalities are not equal on each side. Or we use a sign that says it could be equal, but it also could be less than, could be greater than or equal to. These are the symbols we use. The less than sign points to the left, the greater than sign points to the right. And if you have one of these signs, you use an open dot when you're graphing it. If you have the less than or equal to sign, meaning that the number that you found could be part of the solution, or if you have the greater than or equal to sign, meaning that the number again could be part of the solution, then you use a solid dot. Think about the solid dot includes the number you're graphing, whereas the open dot does not include the number you're graphing. Okay? So, let's look at this example. We solve this inequality the same way that we've solved the other equations. 2 plus n is less than 7. You would treat this just like 2 plus n is equal to 7 until we get to the end. So, add negative 2 to both sides to get n by itself, and n is less than 5, right? If we graph this on a number line, we'd have to use an open dot on the 5 because it is just the less than sign. Remember, use open dot for less than or greater than. And then point it to the left because n is less than 5. Now, if it said 5 is greater than n, what does that mean? Instead of n is less than 5, it says 5 is greater than n. In other words, the number is on the right side, or on the left side, and the variable's on the right side. James? It means the same thing, doesn't it? But to graph it, it's easier to graph inequalities when the variable is written first. Okay? Because then the sign tells you what the variable is related to the number. N is less than 5. This is the graph of n is less than 5. Okay? If you have it written as 5 is greater than n, then that's telling about 5. That means n is less than 5. So we got to turn that around in order to make sense of it. Okay? Now, sometimes in these inequalities, you have a negative number next to the variable, a negative coefficient. Okay? Now, when we solve this, let's say we've got the two variables, we got one on each side, right? So we have to add the negative 4x to get the variable terms on one side and the number term on the other side. And then you get negative 5x plus negative 4x, and that's negative 9x. So negative 9x is greater than or equal to 2, right? You with me so far?
Yeah.
Now, in order to solve this, you have to multiply by a negative reciprocal. In order to get a positive x, we have to multiply by a negative number. Or in this case, divide by a negative number in order to get positive 1, right? Do you understand that? Whenever you have to do that, whenever you have to multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to reverse the sign in order to make the equation true, or in order to find the actual solution. You have to reverse the sign whenever you end up multiplying or dividing by a negative number at the end. So whenever the coefficient is negative, you're going to have to do what?
Oh, reverse.
Reverse the sign at the end. Okay? we have to flip it from the greater than or equal to sign to the less than or equal to sign. Okay? Let's do some questions from your sheet. Okay? From your assignment. Look at number 1. 10 plus 4a is less than negative 6. Okay? Follow along now. Here's our number line. We have to solve this for a, right? So, we have to get the a by itself on this side, on the left side. Now, the sides, when you are doing inequalities, the side that you have the variable on, remember that side is related to the symbol. So you can't just decide, well, I'm going to put the a's over here and the numbers over here. Because those sides have to stay consistent with whatever the symbol is that we're using. Since the a's are on the left side, we have to leave them on the left side. Get rid of the 10. So add negative 10 to both sides. And 4a is less than negative 16, right? Now, is this a positive or negative coefficient, class? It's a positive coefficient. Remember, the coefficient is the number next to the variable. So this is a positive 4, right? Does that mean we have to switch the sign? No, you don't have to switch the sign when the coefficient is positive. Only if this number was a negative number. So we can solve this. Cross off the reciprocals, and a is less than negative 4. Now do we have to switch the sign? The solution is negative. Does that mean we have to switch the sign? No. No. We already decided when we looked at this number, since that number is a positive number, you don't have to reverse the sign. Okay? Only if you are multiplying or dividing by a what? By a negative number. So now we have to graph it. You graph it by marking 0, and then marking negative 4, that would be to the left of 0. What kind of dot should we use?
Open.
An open dot. An open dot goes with less than sign or greater than sign. And which way should we point the arrow? To the left, yep. To the left. Now notice that the arrow, when the variable is written first in our solution, the arrow points the same way as the symbol. Okay? When the variable is written first, the arrow points the same way. Okay? Skip down to number 6. Number 6 has a fraction, yeah. Negative b over 7 plus 7 is less than or equal to 6. Now this one looks a little bit different. First of all, it just has a variable over a number. So what is our coefficient?
Negative b over 7.
Is b a part of the coefficient?
Yes.
No. The coefficient is just the number. How many b's, or what number could go in front of the b? 1. This is negative 1/7 times b, or negative 1 b over 7, right? Well, we'll get to that later. First, add what?
Negative 7.
Add negative 7 to both sides. Go ahead and work this out. Now, negative 1/7 b is less than or equal to negative 1. Now what? Is our coefficient negative? Is this a negative number? Look at this number in front of b. Is that negative? Yeah. So what are we going to have to do at the end? Fast.
Flip the.
Say it.
Flip the.
Reverse the sign. So instead of, whoops. So instead of it being less than or equal to, we're going to have to make it greater than or equal to. How do we solve it? Times by the negative reciprocal. Well, the reciprocal is negative, right? It's not the negative reciprocal, it's just the reciprocal. But it has to be a negative number in order to get a positive b. Now, what should we multiply by on the other side? Negative 7 again. Do we need it to write it over 1? No, because we're not multiplying by a fraction. So what is b? B is, what's this sign? B is what?
Greater than or equals.
Right, equal than 7.
Greater than or equal to 7. So to graph it, mark what? 0 and 7. What type of dot should we use? A closed or a solid dot. And our arrow should go to the right. Why?
Because it's a closed dot.
Because the variable is written first. So the arrow can point the same direction. Okay? Any questions? We've covered all of the different things that you're going to see in these questions. Positive coefficients, negative coefficients, whole number coefficients, fraction coefficients, and solving and graphing. Okay?